for all coming in here. First, I just want to tell you that I am trying to start a ministry. But before I tell you what the ministry is, I want to tell you what inspired it, how I got the idea for it. There's two things that I experienced this summer that really put it in my heart to start this ministry. Alright, so I went to CIY Move for the past 4 summers, and it just so happens that I came to Johnson every year with my youth group, so that's how I found Johnson. But one theme that CIY always focuses on is kingdom workers, and this past summer they really put an emphasis on it. CIY defines a kingdom worker as a Christian who uses whatever sphere of influence he or she has to proclaim the message of Jesus. They include teachers, parents, basketball players, guitar players, doctors, artists, actors, singers, counselors, pastors. Each ministry may look different, but they have each surrendered to Jesus and are committed to using their gifts, abilities, and relationships to advance his kingdom. And what I learned this summer, even though I kept hearing this concept every summer, what really I realized is you can use absolutely any gift you have, any gift that God gives you, any talent that you have to extend the kingdom of God. You can use those gifts, whether it's drawing, singing, acting, whatever gifts you have, you can use it to show people the love of God. So when I came home from CIY Move, immediately I started to question, what can I do? What, gifts do I have that I can use for God? I had a lot of doubts in myself. I'm not athletic, I'm not musical, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not strong enough, I'm not smart enough. What can I do for God? But I started to really think about it and try to have more of a confidence, look at the positives, what gifts has God given me that are easy for me to use for God. And I realized that I've always had a creative ability and leadership ability. So then I'm okay, I'm creative, how can I use this for God? So a week later, I had a perfect opportunity. I was going to go on my first mission trip to the Dominican. I thought, what can I do in this week of time, right now, right here, that I can show a light to these children? What can I use with this week that I have before going to the Dominican Republic, Atadeliaki, a very poor, desperate place? What can I use? So I started looking around my room, and I realized that I have this whole box of string. I'm what am I going to do with string? Since 5th grade, I have made bracelets out of these strings, and at first I'm God, bracelets, what am I going to do with bracelets? Bracelets is just so boring. But he's use it. I'm nobody's going to like this. He's use it. So that week, before I went to the Dominican, I had a mission, and the mission was to make some bracelets that I could take down to the kids in the Dominican. Because I asked my youth pastor, I was would that be something that they would like? And he says that anything, absolutely anything like that will make them excited. So then I got scared because I'm how am I going to manage to make all these bracelets in 1 week? So I asked some girls from my youth group, and we got a little group together 3 days before I left for the mission trip, and in those 3 days we got 80 bracelets made, which was only about a third of the kids, but it was a start. So that brings me to the mission trip. I'm going to show you a video. It's a 3-minute video. It just has some pictures. My church is related to Go Ministries. If you don't know what that is, they mostly do missions in places like the Dominican and Haiti, places like that. So we went to a church there to help do different things with the kids. We did a VBS, and we also did some construction. So I'm just going to show you these. This kind of just sums up my trip.
Little hands, shoeless feet, lonely eyes looking back at me. Will we leave behind the
Each night in the Dominican, a student had to do a Devo. So I was given the verse Psalm 139, 23, 24, which is now like the main verse that I'm tying to my ministry. So I want to reread it. Psalm 139, 23, 24. Search me, God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. See if there is any offensive way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. And I was asked what came to mind when I read that verse, and it's pretty much fit in perfectly because originally I didn't plan on going on this mission trip. I totally blocked it out. I was being very selfish. God over and over was like, you need to go on a mission trip. I'm just like, no. And it was, towards the end of school, I was transitioning from high school and getting ready to come here, and I already had enough to pay for. And that $1,100 figure, I'm like, no, like that's I was just being selfish. I didn't have any faith. But I helped with like 2 fundraisers, and 2 weeks before the mission trip, I got an email saying your balance has been covered. So I was like, oh, I have no choice. Like, all right, let's go. Which was scary. But this sounds cliche, but now I realize why I was supposed to go there, because it was the most life-changing experience of my life. And I just want to share the number one thing that stood out to me when I was there. It's stuck in my heart ever since I've left, and it has been my fuel to get this ministry going. And what it is that every day with the kids, we would bring them inside and feed them. They have like a nutrition center at the church there. I would notice sometimes that when I was trying to feed or give the plate of food to a kid, they would say, no, sorry. And I was like, why wouldn't you take the food? Later, I learned it's because that the only children that get fed are the children who are sponsored. Only the kids who are sponsored, you see those ads on TV all the time, only the kids who are sponsored get fed. And every day I got very frustrated because there would be all this leftover food. And I'm like, why can't these kids have just like a plate of food? And they're like, oh, well, we're saving it for the next day. It's like a tight budget that they have to go by. When I came home, like, I was broken. It just made me so sad. But at the same time, these kids inspire me because they want love more than food. They're content if you just hug them. We can't verbally talk to them because they speak Spanish and we speak English. They don't care. They don't care if you can't throw a ball. They don't care if you can't sing. They just want your love. That's it. I watch kids run outside when it's raining because they just need a shower. When we had our water balloons, they didn't care about the water balloons. They just wanted the water in their mouth. They're just so thankful and grateful for everything they have. And I'm just like sitting over here, like I complain every day about like the stupidest things, and these kids are just grateful for everything, and they deserve to have food on their plate. So when I went home, I was like, what can I do? So I went back to the bracelets, and again I doubted God. I'm like, how is bracelets going to do anything? Like, a bracelet is a bracelet. And then I started to talk to people about it, see if people would buy them to sponsor our children in the Dominican. So the more and more I started talking about it, the more and more I realized that I can use this. So now currently I have a goal of sponsoring 1 boy and 1 girl in the Dominican. And that takes a lot of bracelets, let me tell you. I hope in the long run, if this is God's will for me, that I can sponsor my ministry that I'm entitling Heartstrings can raise not only funds for kids in Atadeliaki, Dominican Republic, but awareness and hope for them. So as I said, it's little by little. It's a dent. It's a little dent. But I've had these great ideas like all the time, and nothing happens. And this is the one where God's like, you have to do this. Like, this is, like, you can use this. Look, I'm giving you all the ideas. I'm giving you all the materials you need. Do it. And I'm like, I'm kind of busy. Like, I have school, you know. Like, I would love to do this, but I need help. I can't do that alone. So, not only did I want to tell you my story, I'm asking for help, because even if it's like I have like 3 people make me 1 bracelet a week, that would really help me, because like 1 bracelet I can sell for between $5-10, whatever people are willing to donate, and I'm hoping by the end of this year that I'm able to reach my goal of sponsoring 1 girl and 1 boy. If you are at all interested in helping me, I'm gonna start making commitment like 1 night a week that I'm just gonna make bracelets. So if you like want to join, even if you don't know how, if they're really easy, I'll show you. And if you're not willing to do that, I just ask for prayer, and if you know somebody, because this just needs awareness. Like, people don't, when I say Optodeliaki, they're like, what is that?
And just like a drug